Well, welcome to everybody tonight for New Tracks Meetup. Really appreciate you coming. Hope you come back often. Hope you tell your friends about us. I want to talk a little bit about the train show. And Dylan, if you'll put up the flyer that we have for this.
I'm on
The
it.
show is November the 21st. 1 o'clock in the afternoon it's going to start. It's probably going to be a good 4-hour show. We have an awful lot of really talented vendors in this show. We have probably twice as many as we had in the first show. And it's really going to be something. We have some great magazines that are participating. And I think that really made me feel good that they wanted to join in and be a part of this. So we've got Railroad Model Craftsman is participating, and a lot of the White River publications and some of the other digital publications, Trackside Model Railroading, and Joe Fugate's publication. And a lot of the people last night, we had a training session for it, but a lot of the people last night really were supportive. And we had some good give and take, I think, and good practice session. And I know I learned a lot, and I think the other people that attended did too. So I think this is really going to be a successful show. I think you're really going to enjoy it. And the one in January, on January the 16th, we're going to try to make that even better. We're talking about having door prizes in that one. And we're talking about some other things that I won't go into tonight because Dylan keeps laughing at me every time I talk about them. But I think that we're really on the right track of where we're taking the train shows, and I think they're going to do nothing but get better over time. We have one coming up, as I said, November the 21st at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. The next one after that is January the 16th, 2021. And the one after that is March 20th, 2021. And both of those will be at the same time, 1 o'clock. By the time we get to March, we believe that this will be a 2-day train show. We'll have to break it up for that long a time because there'll just be too many vendors. I'm hearing already from vendors that have not been participating before that want to start participating in the January show. And I'm really encouraged by that. I think that's great news for us and for the effort that everybody is putting forward. So that's what I wanted to say, and I hope you'll put it on your calendars, and I hope you'll attend with us. The web page is newtracksmodeling.com. If you have not gone and registered, I really would appreciate you doing that, because then you'll get notices of all of our shows and the events that we're putting on. And there'll be private emails. It's not a blanket email that goes to everybody. So each person that registered will get a separate email about the events that we're putting on and when they are and the details about them, such as the screen that you're seeing now on the share screen. The next My Build part of this is December the 12th, and Chris runs that. Chris Course runs that. And Dylan, if you'll put up Chris's email if on the share, if you're interested in being a part of that show, because we have so many people now that want to be a part of the My Build, it seems to really be becoming popular. If you send Chris an email and tell him to make sure that you're going to have time to show your models and to share with us during that December the 12th show, then we'll make sure that you get on. I'm also thinking about doing a different kind of a my build, and I'm thinking about doing it one Wednesday, maybe 2 Wednesdays, but to start 1 Wednesday a month, maybe 15 or 20 minutes, maybe having 2 to 3 modelers take 5 minutes each and talk about their models and so forth. And then an alternate Wednesday, I've asked TC to maybe talk about electronics in model railroading. and maybe have some people come on that specialize in different parts of the electronic items that are coming on the market for model railroading, and talk about what their products are and what they can do for us and that kind of thing. And I've asked another modeler to come on for following Wednesday and talk about the different kinds of modelers that are out there and the talents that they have. And I think that might be interesting. And I'm working on a fourth modeler to come on and take 15, 20 minutes at the start of our show and talk about another aspect of the hobby. So I hope that you'll enjoy those features. I hope to start them sometime after the next train show, because I just don't have time right now. But that's what we're thinking about, and I think I think you'll enjoy it and be something different that we can bring to you. So with that said, I want to introduce a brand new model manufacturer, Paul Reeves. He owns Kershaw Craftsman Kits. He's just become a model manufacturer. He's a longtime model railroader. And I'm really glad that Paul could take some time to be with us tonight and share with us what his plans are and what all is about his company. So Paul, thanks so much for coming, and I'll turn it over to you, sir.
Well, thank you, Jim. I appreciate it. Also, thanks for the invitation to appear. This was certainly something new for me, and I actually was a little bit nervous about this. I do a lot of public speaking, but I'm a little nervous about being in front of peers and whatnot. So Jim's right. I started, I guess, in the railroad hobby in 1991. I actually saw my first high rail layout in Classic Toy Trains, I think during the December or maybe the January issue of 1991. And that's where I thought that really impressed me, the realism. Even then, it was a very realistic layout, even though they unfortunately had 3 rails, which was interesting to see. But in any event, that kind of launched my interest in the hobby. And coming full circle, my layout was featured in Classic Toy Trains last year, and that was very flattering and very satisfying. But the thing is, I guess I have to admit, it's not really the trains that get me going. It's the structures, it's the scenery, it's the scene. That has always just intrigued me and sort of driven me to try to make a scene that somebody would find to be realistic. And I've always, I haven't really done a whole lot of scratch building, but I've done a lot of kit bashing and really enjoyed that. So Kershaw Craftsman Kits came about. I met Jeff Grove, who owns Carolina Craftsman Kits, about 3 years ago, maybe a little longer. And Jeff and I met through a mutual friend, and we really kind of hit it off, and we kept talking over the phone. He's of course was at the time living in Wilmington, North Carolina, and has unfortunately moved a little bit further north to Maryland. But in any event, we spoke. I told him about how impressed I was with some of his kits and the ones I built, and also I saw photographs of his kits that other people had built and was really impressed with. I mean, the kits are not complicated, but they look like you put a lot more time into it than you probably did. And so I really appreciated the simplicity of the kits. And also, Jeff was one of those guys where, you know, his instructions were, you know, you have to know a few things. And we've joked about that because he thinks, you know, you need to use your own imagination with some of these kits. And so I'm not really sure what prompted the conversation, but Jeff expressed some desire to focus on the HO portion of his business, and fooled me into buying the O scale or O gauge or ON30 part of the business. I'm just kidding. And so I did that in July, and I am trying to catch up. Jeff had a tremendous amount of kits that he had done in the past, and I am trying to catch up. But it's been a real privilege to work with him. He has been super helpful, just just very helpful at every juncture and has made the transition easy. So shortly after I had purchased the company, I heard from Jim, and I did not know about this particular group. And so it was a real pleasure and very flattering to hear from Jim about, this group. And it's just really cool to be here. And I am flattered. And so what I was going to do, I guess, is introduce kind of what, before I bought Kershaw Craftsman Kits or formed that company, I had found I grew up in the country. My grandfather was a sawmill guy. He didn't own it, but he managed one way back in the day. And I used to hear some stories from him about his sawmilling days and how it was hard work and certainly the way they would cut wood. I mean, they would just cut a tremendous amount of wood in an efficient mill. So I've always been a little bit intrigued by sawmills. And so kind of what got me going with that was I was in the grocery store and I had looking around and I saw this coffee stirrers. And, a lot of people I've read where a lot of people have used these to form or to supply the wood, if you will, to scratch build and use that on the layout. So anyway, I found those. I also came upon a really cool guy on Shapeways who had a complete sawmill machinery that is 3D printed. It was in HO scale. So I emailed him and asked him if he could upscale that to 148, and he did. And so I found the equipment. Then I realized he set the whole sawmill. He's got of course, the carriages, the saws, live rolls, dead rolls. He's got a planer. He's got a cutoff saw. And I'm going to switch over the camera to show you my interpretation of what this sawmill is like. So stand by. Okay, this is the overview of the sawmill, and hopefully the pad it's on can give you some idea. This is a big piece. This is a big piece because you can see the machinery took up this much space. And I'm going to adjust the camera here just a minute. This is where the logs would come in. At the end, there is a mechanism to pull the logs in. They would come in, they'd roll down. There would be a step here to keep the logs from overcrowding the carriage. This is the 3D printed carriage. It is, now I painted it, but as you can see, it's a very, very scale-like representation of the carriage for the logs that would roll, that would come onto this, and then they would keep sawing. There would be an individual here on one of these levers working working the log to turn it and rotate it so that it could be cut. And as you can see here, this is a double saw mechanism. The logs would come in, come down, and then they would roll across into the live rolls. There's a planer back here. And I did not intend to include a drive system, but all the machinery looks so good. I ended up going to Crow River and I purchased their drive system, which included couplers, hangers, these pillow box bearings that I painted. And really, the belt system is in essence vellum paper that I spray painted tan and cut it out. I will say that's probably the hardest thing about this particular model was getting the belts to look realistic, and even some of them look a little stretched, but they'll do for my purposes. As you can see here, this is the drive system. There's a coupler here, and it goes out to here. I have a steam powered, a boiler with a steam engine that will connect to the drive system on the outside to finish the model. I just haven't got to that. This model is stained with Hunter line stains. I used several colors. In fact, a little bit of experimentation here and there. Left some, I think some pretty cool weathering and coloring. And again, this really all was kind of a big experiment. I had never done this before, and I got excited about it. Didn't really intend for it to be this big, but I thought, you know, why don't I try to accommodate all the machinery? And so this came about. Now, the roof comes off. I built it so there's just some platforms for the roof to sit on. I'll show you the roof in just a minute, but I wanted to kind of have you take a look at this. And then I was going to show you what I think is a really simple way to build this building or any building using just basic, the coffee stirrers and also wood you can get from your hobby store or from other, maybe even direct suppliers. But this, I'm going to move this now out of the way, and I'm going to kind of show you how this all came about from a practical standpoint. Jim, am I doing okay so far? Everybody okay?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Paul, one here.
Yeah,
On that input to the saw, was that 3D printed as one piece?
Repeat that question. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. I apologize.
Okay. On that carriage that goes to the first saw, where you get the logs rolled down onto the carriage, was
Yes,
that
sir.
printed as a one piece?
It was, yes, sir. In fact, the carriage is printed in one piece, and the saw and the frame that the carriage would roll back and or be pulled back and forth is all one piece as well. The live roll tables are each about 1.5 inches long, and they were printed. He did supply, believe it or not, scale pillow block bearings, but they were so small I couldn't drill a hole to get a drive shaft into them. And I went with Crow River, which was much easier to work with. Their pillow blocks were already drilled out. But this, I had to use, in fact, my son is a war gamer, and he turned me on to Citadel Paints. And this is the base color I use for the wood. They've got some funky names. This is called Catachin Flesh. But it comes out as a brown, and then I washed it with a couple of these, again, Citadel paint washes. This stuff is really easy to work with, and it's much better, in my opinion, than some of the normal paints we use. Now, you could use acrylics that you could buy in some of the hobby stores and at the big box stores. But these paints, now they're not cheap, but they really had left a good finish on the sawmill machinery. And believe it or not, it didn't really take a lot of time to paint these. I just took a few pieces at a time. You can see here there's nut and bolt detail as you go along. Of course, this does not roll, but the dogs, as they're called, I had to sort of improvise on the paint. I couldn't find a color picture of these, so I don't know. I just painted it kind of an industrial green and then washed it a couple times. But you can see even the detail is underneath. And in fact, you can you can link up this carriage. There's some sleeves built into the logging table that would allow you to make that even more realistic. And I plan to do that. I just hadn't really found the right thread to do that. So, but anyway, I'd be, if anybody wants photographs, I've got the plans for the sawmill that the gentleman who printed these sent to me. Very, very detailed. And also he supplied some photographs of, I think, a sawmill in California where they were still using, it's still an active sawmill, if that's the right word to use. So, but let me tell you a little bit how this came about, because I don't think, and again, I don't know really anyone else's skill level or how you feel about scratch building, but I was a little bit surprised that this kind of came together as easy as it did, because I'm not one of those guys who can really envision what something's going to look like. I just kept playing around with things. So and here's how I started off. I found the coffee stirrers, and they're really, really cheap. I can't remember what the price was, but you get a ton of them. As you can see here, though, the ends of these are like a popsicle stick, and I cut the ends off, and I used a cutoff saw that I bought at Harbor Freight. You all have seen these. I put a stop on this side here, and I just cut the ends off. I then decided that I was going to make all the floor boards 12 feet long. I'm sorry, it was 10 feet long. You can make them any length you want to, but the length is important, because when you see how I put this together, you'll see why the length is important. But in any event, you would cut the ends off, and then you would have a lot of lumber for a cheap price. So here's where I started. I took this is a 3/16 by 3/16 basswood that I bought at the hobby store, and I cut these. This is a 12-foot scale length, something close to a 6x6. You could use something smaller if you chose to. I chose this because I wanted a little bit of bulk to it. So in any event, I lined these up. I used a square, and this particular mat is great because it's ruled and you can really tell what you're doing and keep things up. But I took a brush, I put glue here and here, and then I would lay this down, and I used some square blocks here to make sure that this was all straight and square. The good news about wood glue is it dries really quickly, especially on this wood. It really absorbs it, and it really sets up very well. So what I did is I put a cross piece on the top here. Once this dried to some degree, I would turn it, put another piece down. Let me just show you this. This is what I did. As you can see, there's two cross pieces that encapsulate the vertical. And you can make, this happens to be 20, excuse me, let's see. This is 20 feet, scale feet and O scale. You can make it as wide as you want to. You can add more supports here. Also, you can come back and later on, if you want to do a foundation, you can cut this off to whatever height you want your crawl space to be. But what I did is I made 12 of these, and I lined them up like this, so. And using a much bigger square, I ran a 16th by a quarter piece of wood, and I laid it underneath these through all 12 of them, and I glued that using the spacing on this, and of course I had a square and everything. But when I got through, I had what looked like, if you turned it up, it looked like, well, anyway, I had 12 of these, and it came out to be about 24 inches. Actually, maybe a little bit longer than that. You can make these, again, as many as you want, or as wide as you want within reason. So once I got the stringer underneath, it kind of held everything together. And of course here, I'm not going to glue that because that'll take too long. But it actually worked out to where I then started using the coffee stirrer sticks that I'd cut the ends off. And each of I'm gonna call these U-shaped items were at a specific distance from each other, so that when you put the coffee stirrer on there, you would start, of course, at the end, and I went halfway, so I'd have room to glue the next ones on. And I just kept laying these side by side. In my opinion, the coffee stirrers are not straight. Some are warped, some are bowed. To me, that just added to the character of the lumber. And I put all this in. Again, I used glue, just a little. I used a brush with a light bit of wood glue. Now, this would all have been even on this end here. That one's not, but that's kind of what you would see. And I did that for 12 rows. And everything was glued. And believe it or not, this structure, I'll show you in just a minute. I'll go back to that. But you can pick this structure up. It's very sound. And in any event, this would allow you to go as long as you wanted to and as wide as you wanted to within reason. Once I got all of these things glued, the floor in, I came back and I put these same 1/8 by 1/4. And this time I ran them lengthwise to connect the top. And these come in 24-inch lengths. So I didn't have to cut it. I just glued it to each one. I would use a clamp like this or something. I use clothespins, and that formed the top bracing. And then I would run string as across to form the top so that I could remove the roof. And so let me go back and I'll show you the model. Are there any questions? I've been talking a long time and you're probably asleep. So are there any questions?
Where do you get your paint?
My son, there's a war game, I think it's called Warhammer store here in Columbia. They're pretty common, but also Citadel has an online presence, obviously. But I bought these at a local store. I don't recall the price, but also this paint just covers well. It's got a much more prototypical spread to it than some of the acrylics. And also what I like about this is these washes, you can use a lot or you can use some, but the washes really do accentuate things. And you can see on the carriage here, I hope you can see some of the puddling, if you will, of the wash that left these spots that made it look worn, because I wanted this to look like a meal that had been used for a good while.
How do you spell the name of the paint?
Citadel. Citadel.
So I'm sorry, I didn't get it.
Okay, it's Citadel.
Got it.
Okay. They have a tremendous number of colors, but the names are just plain weird. So, okay, let me bring back the model.
And it's a water cleanup paint?
It is. Jim, you asked me, was it water-based, correct?
Right.
Yeah, it's acrylic. Yes, sir. It washes up with water. You also can thin it with, whoops. Okay. Let me try to get, I'm going to stop the video so I won't make anybody have vertigo. Hold on one second. Let me give you a little bit. This is the saw. You can see the pillow block bearing here. I have not yet trimmed the drive shaft. You can also see the coupling here from the at a 90 degrees. Again, the 3D printing was just amazing. This is the beginning of the live roll tables here. There's a drive belt there to run the live rolls. And as these green items here are couplers. Obviously the drive shaft is one piece. Those are not cut. You can also see this is a hanger right there. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be moving this around so much. This hanger, this is the cutoff saw. And then the lumber would come out here. And I've left a space over in here to do some stacks of lumber, and also a small office will go here. My grandfather told me there was a sign at the sawmill he worked at that said, "We provide credit to any person over the age of 80 accompanied by their parents." They didn't give much credit. So I built the log deck here, again, using the same principle of the vertical pieces bound by the 16th by quarter, and where the logs come in, just glued pieces of wood together, and it was stained. And as you can see, there's lots of different colors here. I did that on purpose just to see what kind of the stains. The one that came out the best though was Hunter Line's medium brown mixed up with a little bit of blue gray. The black was too dark, but again, in certain places it really helped. And you can see how the wood came together. Now, one of the things I wish I had not done is Games Workshop. That's exactly right. I'm sorry, Games Workshop.
If I may interrupt, in the chat, Bill Davis also put, we got the name Citadel Color. There's the link. If you look up Games Workshop, that's the gaming Warhammer shops that are everywhere. And you can even get the stuff on Amazon.
Excellent. Cool. Excellent.
Also, the stains you just mentioned from Hunter Line, they have been able to find another source of alcohol. This was, about 3 weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago, they were on and they said they had found more alcohol and were ramping up production of those stains.
Very good.
They got it from a local distiller. True.
Yes, as long as they don't drink up the supply.
Okay, I'm going to turn the video off while I'm going to show you how to do the roof, and I'll be right back with you.
Hey, Paul.
Yes, sir.
On the Citadel Paint site, there's 3 different kinds of paint. Which ones did you choose?
What were the choices? Tell me that again.
Okay, let me bring it back up again. Give it a second here while the computer brings it in. They have contact paint, base paint, and shade paints.
I use base and shade.
You use the shade paints?
Right, the shade paint goes on after you do the base. You don't have to use the shade, but I started each paint. The initial coat was a base color, and I used the color I mentioned just a moment ago. the names have no relationship, in my opinion, to the paint color. So I just had to look, and thank goodness the store here in Columbia had a pretty good selection at the time. So,
Okay.
What is the difference between the base and the shade, Paul?
the shade I would liken to a wash.
Mhm.
It's much thinner.
Okay.
Okay. This is a picture of the roof.
Thanks.
I used corrugated paper and painted basically silver. Actually, I painted it's painted stainless steel. That was the color from the big box store. And then, in fact, this is a pretty good rendition here. The rest of this is pan pastels that are brushed on with either a sponge or a. Hold on, I have one. Let's see. Put my hands on it. I'll find the applicator in just a minute. So now what I did is, and I'm going to replace the phone now. Okay. All right. I wanted to show off all this beautiful machinery. So the roof is made from lots of I guess you would call those trusses. What I did is I put again, you can see I used the two pieces of wood captured on the end by a piece in the middle. And what I did is I measured using these long pieces, the distance from here to here. And I put the truss piece going up to the center of the roof, just where it would fit just beyond this piece right here. And then I put, as you can see, these flats. So it just simply turns around and goes, and it just sits on top of those. And with the trusses the way they are, you kind of have to put it in the right place. You can see here, this is a look at the truss system. And then here, I just started putting the tenon, but I want to just show you how these cross pieces here form a basis for the corrugated paper.
Very nice.
Thank you. Now this part here, I screwed up, okay? I didn't make this level was not high enough for me to put in the pulley to bring the logs in. In fact, this was hitting the roof and I couldn't get a log in here. Now, I don't know why that bothered me, because obviously I'm not going to pull any logs in there, but so as you can see, I added on. And given the fact that these cross pieces have a space in between right here, you can add on like this. And it really wasn't a big deal. And what my thought process is, they expanded the mill. They just had to put a bigger saw, maybe. I don't know, but it was kind of a challenge. And I really, I don't know, it worked out really well, because now this is a flat roof. Mainly because I was tired of doing trusses. So I decided to do a flat roof, and that is the flat roof. Now, the way I did this was very complicated. I just built cross members and covered that with paper. By the way, I didn't think about it, but I would paint this underside probably black or brown or something. I didn't do that. I did stain the truss roof on the inside, and I also placed some members going the length of the roof that I can put lights on, or have a place to put a lighting system, because I'd like to do that. My grandfather said they never ran his mill at night because it was steam powered to begin with, and they didn't want to have to fool with running or generating electricity for lights. I don't know how the Sawyer worked his magic, because it looks like to me you'd need some light to do that. So that is a overview of this sawmill. And I would be pleased to share with you where I got the machinery from. There's some, BTS has got some great logging machinery, Sierra West. There's Jim had given me the name and website for a gentleman in Canada who's doing logging, sawmill equipment, and it's all really, really cool stuff. The thing though that I liked about the Shapeways stuff was I didn't have to put it together. And I think you do lose, the ability to stain and, make it more realistic, but this was sufficient for me at this time. But there's some really cool manufacturers out there who have very detailed machinery. Crow River Products was very helpful. The pillow blocks are probably a little big from a scale standpoint, but they really do work fine. And I was real pleased with the way that turned out. So, again, if there's any questions, we'll move on to the next segment. I was just going to show you some of the kits that we have here at Kershaw Craftsman Kits. And we'll go from there, unless there's some questions.
No, but that's an outstanding model that you have there.
Well, thank you very much. I stole the kitchen counter, or at least one end of it, for about 2 months. So, and thank goodness I've got an understanding family. Okay, I'm going to pull this out of the way, and we'll go.
Are you going to produce that as a kit, Paul?
Well, we're looking at it. Steve Milley with Rail Scale Models. We're looking at this. We've talked about it in general. I would like to do it. I don't know, because again, with a laser cut, you could make this all one piece, and you could cut out the need to do this gluing and this part of the construction. Also, you could actually laser the floor, so you would have to use coffee stirrers. Although, I mean, look at that wood. Don't you just love that? I'm not sure you get that with a flat piece of laser, but maybe you can. But yes, we are talking about it. I talked to the guy who does the Shapeways machinery, and he's eager to. Well, we're talking about it, and we might be able to work something out where we can supply the machinery, because man, this machinery, again, I don't know how it's showing up there, but it really came out well, very well. So the answer, very long-winded, is yes, we are.
Thank you.
Okay, let me slide this out of the way.
When you rebuilt that one end, the contractor was as lazy as you are. Didn't want to build that roof again.
Unfortunately, I think the Sawyer had to use his own people, and that's why it looks like hell.
It's probably true, even in real life.
Hey, Paul, do you have a website?
Yes, it's www.kershawcraftsmankit.com, kits.com.
Can you put that in the chat?
I will.
Thanks.
And I'm going to wait, because I can't do two things at one time. So I'll do that in just a minute. I grew up in Lancaster County, South Carolina, which has Lancaster County was the home of Springs Mills, a textile manufacturer of some size. And from the turn of the century until NAFTA came along, Springs was a very successful company and was run by an eccentric kind of guy, Colonel Springs. And in any event, he wanted a railroad to supply his cotton mills, or from supplying the finishing plants with raw cotton from the cotton mill. So he formed the Lancaster and Chester Railroad. And what you see here is the Lancaster and Chester Railroad's freight house, which is still used today because the Lancaster and Chester Railroad still exists today. It was owned locally for some time, and I think in the last 5 to 7 years has been sold to a railroad company out of the Midwest. It still supplies, handles tonnage and tremendous amount of back and forth for a number of industries in Lancaster County. It connects on one end with CSX and on the other end with Norfolk Southern. So it can supply or get things moved to either one of those railroad companies. This is a sandstone building that was built. I don't recall the date. I've tried to find that out. I don't know. Steve Milley, this is a kit that we just got together, and I sent him some dimensions. This building is a much longer building than what you see here. And in fact, the back of it, on this end here where my hand is, there's a warehouse that goes back probably another 80 feet. We have condensed this particular building down. The hardest thing on this building to do was to paint the sandstone. If you knew how many times I started and stopped painting sandstone, in other words, if you want to, please buy the kit, but you may want to paint it some other color. Sandstone is hard. I mean, it's all kinds of colors, and I just never was very good at recreating. This kit it's all inclusive. The windows and doors are laser cut. The venting is laser cut. The clerestory windows are laser cut. This is the rear of the building. You could add a continuation of that using DPM modules, for instance. And also we have brick walls that we hope to have on the market here soon. And before we got started, my daughter pointed out something. She's a junior at the Citadel, not connected with the paint company. And she said, "Dad, your sign's crooked." And you know what? She's right. So the same guy who screwed up the sawmill apparently put this sign on, and apparently had been drinking for most of the day. So this building is 13 by 9 to give you an idea of the size. But this is the first kit. The kits all the other kits were designed and put together by Jeff Grove, who's a very talented guy. This is the first kit that I put together, and hopefully somebody will like it and buy it. I'm going to get my family to buy one so I can make it, so I can say I sold a kit.
How much?
You know what? I don't have a price on it yet, but if you email me, I'll get you one. I just got this model recently, and we have not come up with a price yet, but I'll be glad to get that to you, whoever that was, because I don't know who it was. So maybe we can talk, or you can email me. And by the way, I'll send out before we leave in the chat. The email for Kershaw Craftsman Kits.com is admin, ADMIN, at KershawCraftsmanKits.com. This is a really cool line side warehouse, whistle stop, if you will. This is called BD Line Side. It's a place it's a little warehouse. Also could be a whistle stop station. Jeff Grove built this, weathered it. This is one of our kits, and it's been a very popular kit, mainly because, as you can see, the building itself is actually 4 inches by, including the deck is 5 inches. So that'll fit almost anywhere on anyone's layout. Easy to build, 4 walls. This comes with the doors. You also can see here, this is a cool little extra is the hinges. And of course, Jeff did a really, really good job weathering this building. This is Faircloth's oysters. McClellanville is a coastal town between Charleston, South Carolina, and Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. If you think I've heard that somewhere before, that name, here's why you might have heard it. That was ground zero for the hurricane that came in that just about washed South Carolina off the map. Hurricane Hugo. McClellanville was completely wrecked. There were boats 15, 20 miles inland. But before that, and again, it was a fishing village for local seafood. And in any event, Faircloth is a really nice rendition of a oyster cannery or oyster processing plant. Again, Jeff Grove built this. You can see he's got this is over the water to some degree. This is a great kit. And as you can see, a lot of textures here. We have a metal roof, then we've got what looks like corrugated metal. And as you can see here, the signage is really cool. That's Faircloth Oysters. This is one of my favorite buildings. Also, you really kind of, you got to be impressed with the whale, WHALE weather vane. That was kind of a cool deal. I've broken that off 17 times since I've had this building.
17 times. Is the manufacture of the log sleds and so forth, the sawmill machinery, by any chance Canuck Valley Models?
No, although I did, per Jim's referral, I did go to Canuck Valley, and they have a great website. And in fact, his machinery is excellent. I did not know about him until Jim turned me on, and I would certainly recommend you taking a look at his products because they're very well done.
Yes, he'll be in our train show next month.
And Paul will be in the January show, as will Canute.
This is a kit that we call the 1932 Vintage Garage. This is a really cool kit that is, again, very simple to put together. This does not come with the vehicle. I love those disclaimers. Sunshine, dirt, dust, rain does not come with the kit. This is it's supposed to be a stucco building with a corrugated covered, I guess bottom half of it or bottom quarter. Everything you see has been laser cut here. But what's really cool about this building is we sell an interior down to the studs. It also comes with a lift that let's see is right. Let's see. The lift's here. There's some tables, benches, and you can also see the studs. Really cool kit. We have a tool set that you can buy separately that is really cool. There's a ton of tools on there. And next time you lose your screwdriver, you will have a 1/48 scale replacement for it. So,
Can we get that replacement in 1/64?
well, you know what? If I could see the 1/48 one, I'd let you know.
Great model.
Again, Jeff Grove did, well, I'm not sure if, I did not do this. Either Jeff Grove or one of the folks that, one of the talent people he uses put this together. I'll move that out of the way now.
What did you say was the name of your company?
Kershaw Craftsman Kits.
Can you spell it?
Yeah, it's a Kershaw. Of course, craftsmankits.com.
Sure.
Yeah. Let's see.
That was Kershaw.
W, correct. Jeff is one of those guys who's always finding unique places. As I understand it, there really is a frog pond store. The cool thing about this particular store is throughout the Southeast or throughout the South, this is kind of a ubiquitous. There's a book here in South Carolina called it's photographs of storefronts, and there's 47 pages and there's 47 different storefronts that were usually found at crossroads or out in the middle of the country where maybe people could get into town. But anyway, Frog Ponds is one of those kind of places where you could probably find, your tools for the day, your feed for your animals, and a casket if you needed one. This has got a lot of little details. I love this coloring of the roof here is just perfect. I did not do it, but that's just perfect. And of course, you got a loading dock back here with a place to bring in supplies. And Jeff's done a really good job of creating these different add-ons and jut outs and things to give it some character. This, again, believe it or not, is a very simple kit to put together. You got 4 walls, you got a lean-to, you got a water tank at the top. And also this comes with screen doors. And in this model, Jeff has got screen wire. I don't know if you can see that or not. Let's see. Maybe so. Guys, I don't know about it. And by the way, I stole this idea from somebody else from some time ago. But one of the coolest things I found for a screen door, or the screen of a screen door, is those pantyhose that used to come in those egg-like things. It was called coffee. So, but just be careful how and when you buy that. Somebody might start talking about you. Okay, but they really do make. You stretch it over the door, and then I aciate it to the back of the door, and then cut out the overhang, and it really looks. It looked really good, and of course this looks good as well too. But the coffee made it look like a rusty screen. So this is but Frog Ponds is again one of the more popular pieces, or excuse me, kits that we are privileged to put out. And okay, let me. Oh, sorry. All right. This is not a Kershaw Craftsman kit. This is a Brennan's model railroading kit. And it's one of the tributes he did to Frank Ellison's layout. This is the Richmond Packing Company. I've renamed it Carolina Pride because I remember watching athletic events on TV back in the day before there was 600 channels, and Carolina Pride was a big advertiser for sporting events involving the University of South Carolina. And in any event, I just remember that name. The reason I wanted to tell you about this building is this building was intended to be a sandstone building. By the way, if you want to see what a cool modeler I am, notice the missing window. Have no idea where that is. I'll have to come back and put something over that. There is a tremendous amount of cinder block or cement block buildings where I grew up. They were everywhere. People, garages, some churches, there was just a tremendous amount of cinder block buildings. I think apparently it was just the cheapest building material at the time. I'm not sure of that. Well, in Dennis's instructions, he referred this as a stone, and when I got it, to me, it looked like cinder block buildings that I had seen before. But for my entire career as a modeler, I've been unable to get the color, in my opinion, of a cinder block building correct. Either it came out too white or too dark. So the challenge when I got this particular, and this is a great model. Dennis is a good friend of mine and does just tremendous work. He's got several of these out, the tribute as to Frank Ellison. But in any event, when I got this building, it just kind of screamed cinder block building. Plus in South Carolina, we're too poor to buy sandstone other than Lancaster and Chester. So what I did is I started out with a rattle can color, and it's a flat. It's called Stone Gray. Now, I'm sorry, it was a satin. It had a little bit of a sheen to it, but I loaded it up on dull coat. But this is it's just a rattle can, just Rust-Oleum. It's called Dove Gray. Now, Stone Gray, I'm sorry. Now, what I did first was I painted the walls a flat black. I then came back, and I don't know why I did this. I then painted them tan, just a regular rattle can tan. At one point, I thought I would just do a concrete looking thing, and it didn't look very good. So anyway, I used the coat of satin Stone Gray. And then I took these pan pastels, and I'm going to I don't know what color. This is the gray family color. As you can see, you got various shades from light to jet black. What I did is I took a makeup applicator and I just went through random stones and I tried to stay in the lines. It's like, kindergarten. Don't go outside the lines of your crayon. I tried to stay in the lines of the block. And I highlighted blocks. I used the light. I used every tone in this family at some point on the walls. And I'm not a patient guy, so I had to do this a couple of sittings. It does not take long, but my attention span's about 16 seconds. So I just did a couple and then I let it sit. But when I came back to the model, it looked too much like it was just different shades of a stone as opposed to, concrete blocks that maybe had weathered differently. So then what I did is, and this was just purely experimental, I took the model and I placed it about 24 inches, maybe even a little bit longer, from the can of the original Stone Gray. And I had the wall where the spray paint was just barely hitting it. And this is what you get. And it really, now this part here, I used just some India ink, just black acrylic paint and some alcohol. And again, I know that this is all about taste and everybody's got different taste, but I love the way those concrete blocks came out, especially here, where it just looks like the real thing. And I was really pleased. And I called Dennis and told him that I had butchered his poor Richmond thing and made it a concrete block building. And I apologized. But this is a really cool model, goes together very well. Dennis also had on his model, he had a, hold on, I'm losing my anchor here. He had a shingle roof, but I used corrugated because those shingles, they would take forever, but they really do look good, and especially weathered. But in any event, this is a great kit. If you haven't put together any of Dennis's kits, this is certainly one you want to take. And there's on the interior of this kit, I just took a piece of foam, and I made a floor so that I'll try to show you without tearing everything up here. This is a loading dock area that you enter in. And so I just took a piece of blue foam. I cut it to fit. I scored it, painted it a old concrete color. And I look forward to populating it with somebody or something. But this is a great kit, very well detailed. Instructions are really clear. And wait, am I selling Dennis Brennan's kits or my own? Hold on. That's a great kit. Dennis is an excellent modeler and also an excellent model maker. So I certainly can show you some more models, but again, if there's any questions or anybody want to discuss anything, this is a good time to do it because, well, it's just a good time to do it.
How'd you paint the concrete?
How did I paint it? How did I make it? What'd you say?
Yeah, the concrete that you got in the picture here?
Yes, sir. This is actually blue. This is actually just styrofoam, the messy kind.
Okay.
I said a while ago it's blue. I was wrong. This is just regular styrofoam. I got something shipped to me. It had a piece about just a little bit bigger than the building. So I got the building built. I scribed off. I put the building over this. Excuse me. I put this under the building, and I just scribed off using a permanent marker, and then I cut it with a hot knife. And then Dennis, I used some bracing in the interior, so I made some spaces for the bracing. As you can see, there's a place here for loading. I just left that as it is. And excuse me, I need to paint this concrete, but I could envision a truck being backed in here, picking up meat or delivering something. And the scoring is just pencil.
What you use for color?
This is a rattle can khaki.
Wow. So simple.
Those rattle cans, if you can, sometimes the big box stores carry, and then they'll discontinue or they'll stop carrying them. Khaki though, and Sandstone, and I can't remember which brands they are, both are really, really close to old concrete.
Mm-hmm.
The khaki especially.
Yeah, I like the brownish color of it.
Right. By the way, I did put a coat of acrylic on this because I didn't know if it would react with the styrofoam or not. I'm sorry, I'm completely wrong. I put a skim coat of lightweight patch, and then painted the patch because you can see here it gives me some texture here that looks like
Right.
Again, concrete. So, and you can see here the uneven places, which I just think it kind of adds to the fact that somebody. And then of course this is the styrofoam itself, but you can see where the patch came over. Really easy to use, and in fact I use that patch for stucco. It also is a great product to emulate stucco. So again, great model. Dennis did a really good job, and he's got a couple other models of the Frank Ellison pieces, and I'm not going to try to put that on there. So, and I built a little base. I had tried to make this to where it looked like it had been, the scenery was up to the edge, but the building shifted a little bit, so I got some work to do on that. But this is Carolina Pride meats. Okay.
Dennis will also be on our show on the 21st. You guys really should not miss that show. Doing good advertising, Jeff?
That's good. Don't stop.
Well, he hasn't said anything about another manufacturer yet.
Let's see. This is a Kershaw Craftsman kit. Jimmy D's Tires and Lube. Again, a very simple kit. This is emulates stucco. And boy, does this thing need a paint job, don't you think? Again, very simple. You can leave the doors open if you choose to. One of my friends put this together just recently, and I think he used a Berkshire Valley detail kit, or at least pieces from Berkshire Valley, and really did a good job with the interior. He also did a really good job with hanging. You know, when you walk in a repair shop, you see the belts that, you know, I guess cars still have belts. I don't know if they do or not, but, you know, the belts would all be hanging along the wall. He did a really good job, and he's going to tell me how he did it, but it looked very realistic. He just used a little piece of tape and some black tubing. I think actually it was electrical wire, but it looked just like belts. Again, this is a pretty straightforward, easy kit to put together. If you're not going to do any detail, this would be something you can probably do in the afternoon. All these things are, the windows and doors, if I recall, are all laser cut. And you can see there's some signage here. Again, this is a good example of Jeff's designs that look a little more complicated than they probably really are. This also would be a great place to add some gas dispensers and you know, an island and maybe a gas station somewhere that would also be doing repair work. And so, I'm sorry, was there a question? I might have missed that.
There was a store in my hometown in Tyler that had a sign like that. That
Really?
a gargantuan tractor tire. It was an actual tire.
Really?
Or a, you know, one of these big, huge 4-wheel drive tractors or something. Or maybe it was off a mining truck. I don't know. It was huge.
Well, you know, Jeff was the author of this name. Jimmy D sounds like somebody who's connected, just so you'll know. Don't stiff Jimmy D. He might have some connections.
Sounds like sausage.
Mafia guy, huh?
This is a kit called the Boat Repair. This is a little similar to Faircloth in the sense of it's built to be, you know, both land and water, as you can see here. This is where you would have the doors. These doors would open up into a wide expanse. There would be either the water or a ramp would pull you'd be able to pull the boat into the building for work. I love the fact that this is angled. I think Jeff did a really good design job to give it some character, that this door is angled. You can see from the roof line. And I apologize for the pink foam. But again, just a really cool kit. These doors are custom cut. And really, this could be a lot of things, quite frankly. You can see here, you could open this door if you wanted to. Again, there's a huge, same door here on the back. And this little jut out here is really cool. But this building could be a lot of different things. As you can see, he used corrugated, or used paper to emulate the corrugated tin. And, you know, having a lot of connections with the coast, that tin would have lasted about 6 weeks at the beach. But you can tell here, very, very well weathered. Jeff again did a great job. I got one more kit. Let's see. Heretofore, all the kits I've shown you are full buildings. This kit is called Darden's #2. and it's a large kit. This, I think, is 24 inches long, but it's only about 4 inches deep. Great for a backdrop kind of building. Got a lot of different textures. You got the clapboard siding there. You got a different siding here, and then you got corrugated tin there. And great for a warehouse or some industrial building. I don't know if I can show you the, let's see. That's only about 4 inches. And you can tell a lot of character and a little bit of space. So I have other buildings that are built up. They're too big to put. We have Elkin Station, which was on the Western Maryland. That station is almost 26 inches long. It's a full building, huge kit, but a beautiful building. Some of the nicest brickwork I've seen. When I think of laser cut wood, I think of just wood. But Jeff and those did a great job. Steve Milley, I think, did the design as well on the Elkin Station. The brickwork is just tremendous. Gives you a lot of tooth to put in mortar lines if you wish to. And really, really cool kit. Really good kit. This building, yes, sir.
Can I chime in on Elkins?
Please.
So this is Steve Milley, by the way. So the Darden Mill that you just showed and the Elkin Station, both of those prototypes are about 100 yards apart on that same stretch of rail. And they still exist. If you Google them in Google Maps, you can find them both in Elkins, West Virginia.
Thanks, Steve. I didn't know that. So thanks for this is Thomas Station. And this has got a hip roof. It's got nice lines. These doors and windows are laser cut. It's got a shingle roof, and it makes this really could be almost anything that you need it to be. In fact, in Columbia, where I live, there's about a 5-block area where there are probably 10 buildings that have this front part on the street, and then they have warehouse space going back. And there's railroad tracks between all those buildings. And at one point, there was 23 different railroad tracks that came into the side of these buildings. Most of them have been torn up or removed, not torn up. Most been removed because of commercial development. But if you got caught on that street with one of the trains, you could be there until you retired. Since Steve has brought it up, I'll show you the Elkins. I'll try to show you the Elkin Station. This is, let's see, great day. This is Elkin Station. This is all brick, and it is extremely well done. The roof comes off here if you want to detail the interior. What's really cool about this, I'm losing my, What's really cool about this is the, I can't. The roof supports here that you can see very well detailed. Steve, I think you did all the planning and cutting on this project, didn't you?
Yeah, I did Elkins in both HO and O scale for Jeff.
This is a super kit. It's probably a little bit daunting to look at, but it is really cool.
Everything
How
on
large?
that kit is laser cut. Everything's laser cut and laser engraved. The foundation, the stone foundation's all laser engraved. The brickwork's all laser scribed. All the windows and doors are laser cut, layered assemblies. It's a fun that was a fun project.
How long is the structure, Paul?
Stand by 1 second.
You've got, hey Paul, do you have the laser cut deck as well? The patio, is that brick scribed as well?
Yes, it is. I'll show. Jim, if that's you, I think it's 28.5 inches.
Thank
Roughly.
you. Thank
Let me hold on. See the brickwork?
Yeah, that kit's so big, we had to do the deck in 2 pieces. And then I think the length of each of the long walls is done in 2 pieces as well.
you.
This will give you some idea about the roof construction. I'm gonna put the phone down. This is the roof. And the way Steve designed it, because I was looking through the unbuilt kit that I have, I mean, it really, when I first saw the kit, I was like, you got to be kidding me. I couldn't put that together if I had to, but it really comes together very well. I mean, Steve, you might could comment on that. But this is very well done, and the instructions are really clear, and it comes together very well.
Yeah, the roof structure is all tab and slot, so it goes together like a 3D puzzle, and then it sits on top of the building. And then the only thing not laser cut in that kit is we used the Spanish tile from Plastruct. I'm pretty sure it comes with the kit, the Plastruct Spanish tile sheets.
It really makes the building look pretty cool.
Yeah.
The orange color. So, well, folks, that's most of the kits that are built up. We have a lot of inventory on other things. Not all the kits are on the website, still putting those in. But if you think of something you want, let me know. If there's a building you want to, you think ought to be built, we'll certainly consider doing that. Steve's probably one of the most talented guys that I know, and every time he sees my phone number, I think he cringes because I've got some dumb question for him. So
I've got an automatic screening tool that dumps it into voicemail automatically.
I wondered why you never answered. You should have just kept that. You should have kept that to yourself. So anyway,
I can't hear the phone ringing over the laser running 24 hours a day.
So, well, folks, that's really kind of what I wanted to share with you. Again, email admin@KershawCraftsmanKits.com, and be glad to chat with you and meet you. I'm going to be doing a show in Raleigh next weekend. Steve's going to be there. And I just look forward to meeting some of you folks, or all of you folks, when that's appropriate. And thank you, Jim, for your time. And that's all I got, friend.
Paul,
Yes, sir.
what's that building in your windowsill?
That building is from a British company that does 1/4 inch or quarter scale buildings. And I bought it because it reminded me of a building that I saw in Charleston, South Carolina. I think it's called Petite Miniatures, but I'm not sure. If you email me, I'll give you the name. It's a cool little kit. It's MDF, with task board, I think doors and windows. And it has you can do the interior if you wanted to. I put patch on the bottom to show stone or it's plaster, because a lot of the houses in Charleston, South Carolina are plastered, or excuse me, stuccoed. I'm sorry, stuccoed. So that building just reminded me, because most all the buildings, all the homes in downtown Charleston were turned sideways, because at the time they were built, you had to pay taxes on the square footage that fronted the street. So everybody turned the house sideways.
Mhm.
Well, thank y'all for your attention. I really appreciate it. You've been very kind, and I hope that maybe it's a few little things you've learned, and hopefully I've enticed you to, take that stimulus money and send it our way.
Well, Paul, I can't thank you enough for taking the time to be with us tonight and showing us your kits and talking to us about your new company. I wish you most success. And looking at the models that you have, I'm sure you're going to be very, very successful with it.
Well, I appreciate it. And people like you and the folks here are certainly going to be helpful to do that. And I appreciate your time and attention. And it's been a pleasure to be here. Look forward to visiting next time as a viewer.
Fantastic.
Paul, did I get your email right in the chat?
I'm sorry, go again.
Did I get your email right? It's admin, ADMIN at your website.
Yeah, that's correct. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thanks very much.
No problem.
Excellent.
And
Very
next,
good presentation. Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I enjoyed it. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you
next
much.
time we've got another modeler that's got a great company, Nick Santos of Nick's Trains. He makes the DCC buddies that you may have heard about. He was in our last train show, and he'll be in the next one. And I think you'll really enjoy Nick's presentation. Other than that, does anybody have anything else? That's all I have.